Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Birdbrains podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Jay Collins, and as usual, I've got the two fellows with me, Clay and Envy. How you doing, boys?
Hello.
I am exhausted on this summer day.
Perfect. Well, to maybe get your spirits up, we can celebrate hitting 200 subscribers. That's a tiny number, but it's bigger than we thought we'd ever be for this point. So, hell yeah! Thank you for subscribing to on YouTube. Thank you if you listen on any of our other platforms. That's Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If you want to find those, go to http://birdbrains.gg. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I never thought we would hit 200. Like just doing a podcast about a deck specific, but we really appreciate you guys. Thank you.
You know how hard it is to come up with stuff when we're focused on only Derevi?
we're making it work.
We're racking our brains all the time, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But today's podcast episode topic is covering the Tarkir Dragonstorm and Final Fantasy sets. Now, Tarkir is a little less recent than Final Fantasy, and Final Fantasy hype is very big. I will try to limit my containment because I have a mild Final Fantasy addiction, if you don't know me. But we have a very, very important topic to kick off the Tarkir review. And, Envy, what is it?
The Dragon Eye basics. Best card of the set. I think they are amazing, and I think if you're running a basic with White Plume Adventure, that you should obviously run your Dragon Eye basics.
I think you are incredibly wrong, sir. The best basics that have come out recently are obviously the Final Fantasy basics, especially the Final Fantasy X Besaid Island. You can't beat that. This is perfect. I can hear the song playing in my head as I look at this.
I am a Final Fantasy person, but man, those Dragon Eye basics look so good.
Do you even have
I think
any
they're
of
the
them?
best. I don't. They're so hard to find.
When there's a will, there's a way, buddy. You gotta just go for it. Pull the trigger. If you love the basic, you get the basic, you know? I don't even run Island. I run Plains.
I'm not even running a basic right now in my list. I just I do think these are the best basics. Like both the Final Fantasy and the Dragon Eye basics, I think these are the best ones to come out of the most recent sets.
All right, Clay, you're our tiebreaker vote. What do you think?
I would really, really hate to hurt someone's feelings by picking one of these. But anybody who knows me from outside of Magic community would know that I'm 100% behind Envy and the Dragon Eye here. And so much so that I would totally get a playset of them.
It's okay to be wrong. That's fine.
It's
I'll
okay
accept
to be
you
wrong.
as you are. But
I would prefer more scales than just eyes in those pictures. And some really cool foiling, and I'd probably go get them. But
it like Loki reminds me of the what was it, Aragon
books? Yeah, with Saphira.
Yeah.
When we were like
10
to 15.
Yeah.
Or at least I was. I guess we're all different ages. I know, you're ancient. My bad. Anyways. Moving into Tarkir Dragonstorm for real this time. Our first card is Voice of Victory. Now, you probably know this card because it's been pretty hyped. It's 1 and a white for a human bard. It's got Mobilize 2, which means it makes, when it attacks, it makes 1/1 attacking red warrior tokens. And your opponents are silenced. They can't cast spells during your turn, and it's a 1/3. You'll note that this is a white card that makes red tokens. We've talked about cards like this before with Sylvala, Eager Trailblazer from Outlaws of Thunder Junction. Red is not part of this card's color identity because there is no red pip icon. It just describes the token it makes as red. So we get to run it and buff up our Bloom Tenders and Fabro Elders.
Yeah. This card is like super, like it's low-key kind of busted. Like I got to actually play, like I have not seen this card until like 2 weeks ago. I'm not gonna lie. In my list, and I finally got to play it, and I gotta like swing with it twice, and man, this card is so good. Like I got to untap like Chromatic Orrery twice, level good.
I slotted this in right after it was spoiled and printed. I played it for, well, a couple months now, right? And I just cut it. It Mobilize is really powerful. The effect is really good for getting those extra Derevi untaps if you play this out. The thing is, it's not really an effect that you want to stick on the board and leave there most of the time. So
Vulnerable.
the advantage you get from playing it is that it is a nether silence in your list, even more so than Mobilize. And while Mobilize is cool and absolutely 100%, you're going to have those games where you do stick it on turn 1 or turn 2 into, some obscene number of Derevi attacks on the following turn because Voice of Victory attacks. And those are going to be very sweet games. I don't think this is the card you want for that play. And I cut it because I found that the fifth silence that it was, right? Fifth silence, Ranger Captain, Grand Abolisher. The fifth silence.
Actual factual silence, yeah.
Yeah, is just it was just too much. I don't need it to have silence It just I ended up seeing way too many games with multiples that I didn't like seeing it. So I think it's a land now because I think I'm testing slightly higher land counts again. So again, card's 100% playable, but you got to decide if having that fifth silence is correct for your metagame because honestly, this is the fifth best silence, maybe fourth best if you're not playing through Fury, but if you're not playing through Fury or you're not playing Kitten either, and then I have other questions for you at this point. Which
I'm not kidding.
Yeah, I have other questions for you. You're playing
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is fine. Like Kitten is not a must include. The card is just
Yeah.
bonkers good.
I agree. I'm trying to think if I could figure out a way to slot both of them in, but it's a lot of slots for both packages.
And while we're mentioning
Yeah.
downsides of this card, this does have the quote unquote Cutzel effect, where it's only preventing spell casts. If you have activated abilities, not that Grand Abolisher stops like channel effects or anything like that, but if there's a tap ability that really screws up your game plan, then this doesn't prevent that at all. So, your opponents could activate Thrasios to find something to deal with this potentially. It might be difficult because if it's a land, it's going to go to their hand. But if they put Colossal Sky Turtle in their hand, they could activate that and put this and bounce this. So it's not perfect. You have to know exactly what it turns off and understand the outs that your opponents will have to answer you.
Yeah, Kenrith to say they're both going to be problems. I mean, Hashton can still win over the top of you with LED. Like it's fine. It's a good card.
Yeah, and I do think the whole number of silence effects that you're running is also a factor into this. I'm only on 4 because I'm not on 3 fairy, so that's probably why I'm a little higher on this also. But I could definitely see Clay's argument with the cutting it because of the heavy a lot of silence effects. You only typically want to see one at a time, not silence plus Voice of Victory plus Ranger Captain.
Well, if you like the Mobilize ability, but you don't actually like the Mobilize keyword, and you want a little bit of more flexibility, our next card is Ainok Strike Leader. Also a 1 and a white. This one's a dog warrior that says whenever you attack with this creature and or your commander, for each opponent create 1/1 red goblin creature token that's tapped and attacking. You can also sack this creature to give your creature tokens, not your normal creatures, just your tokens, indestructible until end of turn, and it's not a 2/2. Obviously, the benefit here is that it itself does not have to swing. You could swing with Derevi, which is something that we want to do already. You'll still make those 3 red goblins. They do not sacrifice themselves at the end step because it's not a mobilize trigger. So you can keep that for cradle fodder. You can keep it for the color upside, like I mentioned previously. And then this doesn't have the red flag alerts that your opponents are going to be scared of. Hey, he's got a silence on board. We got to do something about that, even if you don't have anything in your hand,
So my thought on this, like, it is a little bit better that because when I first read this card, I didn't see the line of and or your commander, so it does like elevate this up like a little bit, but it's just all it does is just make tokens, and they are red tokens, and they do stick around, which is actively like a lot better than like you said with Voice of Victory because they're only until end of turn. It also has the what's the one white creature Adeline? It has the Adeline text where it also goes at each player though.
Correct.
Which
you don't get to choose
is
where
different.
things are going.
Yeah, which can also be a bigger factor for Voice of Victory because with the mobilize, you can send them at whatever player you want. Which is
I
a
think I
big.
would definitely run this over Adeline.
Well, I'm no. This has the same text as Adeline. I'm talking
Oh, I
about
know.
mobilize.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm just saying it's a similar effect that replaces that in this
Yeah.
slot. Because I've tested Adeline before, and it's not terrible.
Yeah, Adeline's definitely not bad.
The biggest thing about this is it's super cheap and it triggers off the commander attack, so you can sequence into it and it creates those goblins. And yeah, they don't get through quite as easily as the mobilize, but there's 3 of them, not 2 of them, and it's just pressure. Cards good for that grindy game. It can make some explosive setup turns with extra untaps in the right board states. I think it's very much a niche tech card, very playable. I know Gabe is seeing a lot of success with it in his metagame. I don't think it would do super well in my metagame, just because of like the way creatures dirtle out the board. The goblins just aren't gonna really do much. But yeah.
I don't think any of us are on this card currently, just to be clear.
Yeah, I will also say 2 mana is 2 mana and 3 mana creatures are also like the prime cards you want to be like looking at for most cEDH lists of Derevi, because 2 to 3 is like where you get your Spellseeker, your Delny, whatever for your Birthing Pod and your Neoform, and then 3 mana is for your to get your like Bright Glass and stuff like that. So being able to just attack, get 3 creatures, and then pod this away for a Spellseeker to get Cradle is pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a good card. It definitely has some synergies that we like. But it feels like a 101st card for me, which doesn't mean it'll never see play in my list. It just means it will take a long time until the metagame says, hey, let's play this card.
Well, maybe also... you can slow... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was also going to say, I've also been like toying around with like a more token-based Derevi list. Like thinking about it with kind of like a monastery mentor. This would work well with it, kind of like how like Rogthras like is for some of those lists. I mean, giving all your creature tokens indestructible, not a terrible thing. So it would probably like own that list too.
Well, if you want to slow down your games, looking at you, Clay, Mr. Turbo Meta, our next card is Clarion Conqueror. 2 and a white for a dragon. It's got flying, and activated abilities of artifacts, creatures, and planeswalkers can't be activated. This is basically the other half of Voice of Victory. You have both these out. Your opponents aren't doing much. The only thing this doesn't have on it is a Rule of Law effect. But it's a 3/3. Personally, because this is symmetrical, I don't know that I like this. I like activating my creatures. I like activating my artifacts. My heart longs for the oof, but I'm off it for a reason. And I'll also give a minor shout out to artist Nathaniel Himawan, who is our Bloomborough Derevi artist, in case you were unaware. Same guy. Very cool art. I like him a lot.
Like, I kind of low-key wish the stacks lists were a tad bit better in the metas right now, but because I feel like this card is actually like really, really strong, like going into the meta, going into any meta, honestly. But unfortunately, stacks isn't like great right now.
So one primary thing about stacks is that you have to be able to play through them. For our deck, this card is unplayable, even in a stacks list. Until we get something new printed, none of our lines, not a single combo line that we play, can be played through this stacks piece. You can't even bounce it with like Teferi Kitten combo to start. Like
because the planeswalkers, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So this particular stacks piece is symmetrical, and it's just too much in a single card. It's no good for our list. Maybe Winota, because Winota just don't care. But outside of that, this card is probably unplayable in the format, which is probably why we haven't seen it.
And probably he's playing like Jetmir, but I haven't
Yeah,
seen a lot of Jetmir either.
I'm glad I haven't seen Jetmir in a minute.
No, that's fair. But it's really good in that. Just an evasive attacker that
And a
gets
3/3
buffed by
flyer
its
is a
commander.
pretty big
Yeah.
body. Yeah.
Yeah.
But moving out of white and into blue, next up we have Naga Fleshcrafter. It's a 4-mana clone, which is our sweet spot that we like because you can pod Derevi into it. But it also has Renew, which is one of the mechanics from Tarkir Dragonstorm that you can only activate from the graveyard. But as a sorcery, you can spend 2 and a blue and exile this card from your graveyard to put a +1/+1 counter on target non-legendary creature you control, and every other creature you have becomes a copy of that creature. So if you have 4 creatures out and you activate this from your graveyard, you get 4 copies of whatever thing you target. The ideal target for this would be Displacer Kit.
Yeah. Being able to, I will say, getting it in your yard is probably the hardest part, which is I think why most of the kit or people who are on the kitten package aren't on this. But being able to turn all your stuff into kittens and then cast one spell and then flicker all your mana and then reset everything that you want to have another ETB on, your spell seeker, your that's like the biggest one I can think of is spell seeker for the ETB, but you could reset your Derevi, or it does turn target non-legendary creature. It reflickers your Derevi too, which can like untap your pod and stuff, which is cool.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
need to
well,
blink something as 4 kittens, but yes.
Yeah.
once it becomes a kitten, once the thing becomes a kitten, you can always just flicker it again, and it'll come back in as its own
Yeah.
thing. But honestly, if you have kitten and another creature that is relevant to kitten and 3 mana, you don't need this. You've already won.
Yeah.
I'd rather just
I
tutor
agree.
something more appropriate.
And that's so having this card is cute, but I would never use it with kitten. It plus kitten doesn't get you anywhere. It plus Derevi and kitten doesn't accomplish anything. It plus Spellseeker and kitten, you don't need it. You're already winning with Spellseeker. Like it plus Bright Glass and kitten. Oh yeah, I mean, do we need to explain that one?
Yeah.
It's just it's cute. It's cool. It's a cool clone at 4 mana, and maybe it's playable because it's a 4 mana clone and it has an extra ability. But I think this is just the clone to sit in the corner, maybe in your box. We're kind of watching it because we're looking for the card that renew actually matters, and right now we don't have that. Most of the things that we would actually want multiple copies of on the field are legendary, or they're like Bright Glass, which is an ETB, and it doesn't matter, right? Because this doesn't give you your ETBs back. So
I do think it's interesting if you play this with survival, because you can survival pitch your creature, go grab this, pitch this, go grab your kitten, and then you can have it renewed from your graveyard with that. That's an interesting line.
It's one way to put it in the bin, that's for sure. Either that.
Yeah.
I would say the easiest ways to put it in the bin are probably that or something. You would need a very convincing gift certification pile, but
yeah. But if you're already running survival, then you probably just have a better line than this. But I'm just saying that is a thing you can do.
Well, kitten's the wrong target for this anyway. Bloom Tender is the correct target.
Making 5 Bloom Tender seems pretty good.
Yeah.
However, instead of making 5 copies of Bloom Tender, why don't you just go get a better creature? Nature's Rhythm. X green for a sorcery with search your library for a creature card with mana value X or less, put it on the battlefield, then shuffle. And it also has Harmonize, which is a new mechanic in Dragonstorm, for X green, but you can tap a creature, only a singular creature, and reduce this mana cost by its power. So if you go search up a meal or bright glass with the first half of the initial cast, you can then tap it after the spell resolves, cast it again for 4 green, and then the power of those creatures is 4, so it gets reduced by 4, and then find another 4-drop creature or less for free. And whether that's a clone to start things off, whether that's, Bright Glass and Displacer Kitten are both 4 drops. You could also put this in your intuition piles, have it binned, and it's just a very flexible card. I'm sure that many people will draw parallels to Finale of Devastation with this, and honestly, I think this is better.
The only argument I could see with Finale being a slightly bit better is it gets cards from the graveyard, so it's not actually like dead to a opposition agent or an Aven.
This is true.
But
yeah, this does not go to the graveyard. This is only library.
Yeah, and the XX in haste isn't off Finale isn't like totally like irrelevant or anything. So, but yeah, this card is bonkers good. Crazy, like I think it's probably the best like green actual tutor we've gotten, probably was since like Invasion of Ikoria. Probably,
This
right?
is miles ahead of Invasion of Ikoria.
Yeah, for sure.
Like this is probably an auto include in our decks. The just the ability to play it and then go get Bright Glass and then use that to get the mana that you need to go get whatever next is insane. The Bright Glass is a 4-power creature. It turns sideways for 4, and you can go get your win. So, just as an example, if you've already got your Gaia's Cradle, you're gonna go get you're gonna cast this to go get your Bright Glass. You're gonna put in your Mana Vault and a rock, and then you're gonna harmonize it and go get your Emil and just win. Because your Mana Vault mana will be the mana to start the flicker to get you going. It's the 3 extra mana you need. Basically, in that scenario, 10 mana, I win the game.
You can also grab like Training Grounds off of Bright Glass, and then your Emil only costs 1, and Bright Glass can get you the rock that makes more than 1, and go in from there.
Yeah, so if you don't have the cradle already, the hardest part is that 4 green pips. But if you know you're playing it, it's really not that hard to get those 4 green pips. Like our deck is very much a deck where you want to fetch the forest first every time anyway, because you've got Utopia Sprawl, you've got Shifting Woodlands, you've got all your green mana dorks, so you need the green source. So like almost no matter what fetch land you fetch with first, you should, hand forbidding, obviously your hand makes a difference. You should almost always be getting your forest off of your initial fetch. So like with that in mind, even with our pip intensive other things, you're still going to max out your green pips really fast. And then of course there's Cradle. It's really hard to not be able to make 4 green mana at any point in the game.
Yeah, just being able to like intuition pile this and like just get like Savine's Cradle this or something like of that matter. Like there's probably better piles, but like that's just like a basic one, and that's still like really good. You get your Cradle out of your yard plus something else with Savine's, and then you'll have this to be able to pay for both the tutor half for the first time and the second time.
I think we all agree that if you're not running this card, you're probably making a mistake.
Yeah. It's one of the best. It's easily one of our best tutors.
And because I had this happen to me the other day, just being able to, you can cast both, like having flash with this card is like crazy. Just because you can just cast both sides like back to back. Like it was so good.
Well, we're moving from an amazing 10 out of 10 green card to a questionable 6 out of 10 green card, if that even. This is Surrak, Elusive Hunter, 2 and a green for a legendary creature, Human Warrior. It can't be countered and has Trample. It's a 4/3, but the relevant text here is whenever a creature you control or a creature spell you control becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, draw a card. Now, many of you will tie parallels of this card to things like Nadu, or if you're really old, Leovold. But you do need to be careful because Bowmasters will just kill you. You will draw a card, it is not a May, put another Bowmaster trigger on the stack, which will trigger Surrak, which will draw you another card, which is not a May. So you need to have a flash enabler and the mana to do things if you're against a black deck. And chances are you're probably against a deck that runs Bowmasters. So something to keep an eye on, maybe, maybe not, probably not. But it's a curious effect.
This man, I wish it didn't. I wish it was a May.
Unplayable.
I agree. And as long as Bowmasters is a card in our format, this card is unplayable.
I mean, I know I'm not 100% sure who hurt you, Jay Collins, but I know that the reason that you want to see this card be good is because it says draw a card, and you know draw a card.
I don't need this to be good. I'm not even probably not gonna play it. I'm not gonna play it. It was an interesting thing that caught my eye, but yeah, I'm not gonna play it. You're right.
What it also had to say an opponent controls too. Like you couldn't even like get a card draw off of your Derevi taps. Like that also is a punch.
If it said that, they'd probably include like this ability only triggers once a turn or something. They've learned their lesson from Nadu. I hope.
But... Now this was made during the time that like
in between the wasn't it? I don't know. Time no, definitely not. Time's a soup.
It takes them like 2 years or something like that between set or between like set conceptions. So this was probably during that time. Like they were still in the middle of developing MH3 where they developed this card also.
Probably. I think you would be correct.
We're not going to see the Nadu ramifications probably until like 2026. Like, because it was banned in 2024 from most formats. So probably around that time.
Well, let me cleanse your palate here with another terrible green card. We have Will of the Sultai, and as you corrected me earlier before we started recording, this is not an instant. This is a sorcery. It is a will, quote-unquote, cycle, kind of like Jeska's will, Chroma's will, etc. So it has 2 modes, and if you have a commander, you get both. One of these modes is a Lumra trigger. Target player mills 3 cards, return all land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. The other mode is irrelevant. I'm not even going to read it. This is an expensive Lumra trigger, and normally I wouldn't even recommend this or even bring it up, but there is a leaked Eldrazi Edge of Eternity card that's been talked about and passed around. I don't have a good image of it here, so I'm not going to show it, but it does care about the number of lands you have in play. This is a way to get Cradle back from your graveyard if you're getting aggressively Besaged. It's an interesting thing to keep an eye on. I don't necessarily think we run it, but again, I'd keep an eye on it. I'd put it over Surrak, that's for sure. But what do you fellas think?
I mean, yeah, but I think there are better effects of this already in the format. Like there's Splendid Reclamation, which it doesn't mill 3 cards, but it puts all lands into play.
Aftermath Analyst is also quite good. That's a 2-mana creature.
Yeah. Like there are better. I think there are better versions of this effect already.
I mean, Splendid Reclamation. Honestly, at 5 mana, why do we not just play Lumra? I mean, Lumra's 6 and abusable.
True. You're not
so
wrong.
I mean, if you're trying to tech that, like, I think you're playing the wrong card here, man. No, this is not a card for us. We don't play any reducers. We do play some flash enablers, but really not a lot. We're not trying to go off like the breach decks where flash makes breach unstoppable type scenario. It doesn't. The second mode isn't good. Like if the second mode was actually like good, then this card could be maybe a maybe pile card. But for just the getting the lands out of your graveyard, it's not even really a maybe pile. Like what do you have in your graveyard normally? 2 lands that you fetched early on.
It gets fetched. It gets your fetch lands back.
I definitely Savine Zrek for a fetch lane more often than I'd like to admit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
I think most of these wills are not really playable in cEDH besides the red one. I think the red one's probably the most playable, and that one
Oh,
isn't seeing a lot of play.
the white one might be Will of Mardu. For it's a removal piece and it makes tokens. It might be
Yeah.
playable.
But,
our
eh.
next card is Auroral Procession. And this one is an instant, but it's a blue and a green for an Ewit trigger as a card. It return target card from your graveyard to your hand. I think that we probably just want to run Ewit in most cases here. But it is notable
Yeah.
because previously our best instance of this was Noxious Revival, which is still a very good and playable card, but instead of putting it on top of your library, it puts it in your hand. Now, 2 mana is not 2 life. Those are very different things, and much worse. But it is an interesting effect, again, be aware of, keep in the back of your mind, maybe further back than you want it to be, but keep it back there.
Yeah, it's a blue card.
This is probably, I'd say like 4th or 5th best recursion piece. So I mean, if you had a reason to not play one of the other recursion pieces, you could play this one. Like, I don't think it's good. I don't think it should be in your list. But if you had a reason to not be playing Noxious Survival, or you had a reason to not be playing Ewit, we should probably take you to the doctor and get you checked out. This could be played, I guess. Maybe, probably not.
Yeah.
Nah, no. It's cute.
Yeah, like I said, it pitches to Force of Will.
It certainly does pitch to Force of Will. But who needs counters when your spells are uncounterable? Mistrise Village, a new land in the set. This land enters tapped unless you control a mountain or a forest, which, as Clay previously described, we often have forests in play, so I find that this land is often untapped. It taps for a blue, and you can also spend a blue and tap this, which is effectively 2 mana. The next spell you cast this turn can't be countered. This card is great. Unlike everything else that I've been going on about for the past 5-10 minutes, this card I actually do play. It does win me games. I will go find this card with Sowing Microspawn if I really want to, and it's fantastic.
I agree. The card is great. The way that they templated this is fantastic because you can activate it, you can go to combat, untap all your lands, and then cast your spell, and it's still uncounterable. Because it goes off the next spell you cast.
It doesn't have to be this phase. It's just sometime before the end of the turn, the next spell you cast is uncounterable. Whether it's a creature, instant, sorcery, doesn't matter.
Which is that has come up. I have definitely used that to definitely like make something uncounterable and then get all my mana back and then go from there.
Like, okay, so you play this card because the opportunity cost to play this card is so low that you play this card. Now, that said, that extra effect, that extra 2 mana is a lot. It you don't think about it, but 2 mana is a lot in our format. And you will find that with our deck being so resilient and able to just fire win attempt after win attempt after win attempt once we've reached that point, what will actually stop you on most of your win attempts is just running out of mana. It's having the wrong color pips. It's having the wrong amount of mana. And because of that, if you use this for the wrong spell or at the wrong time or in the wrong way, it is actually a trap. However, the card is bonkers good, and you play it because it has no opportunity cost to play.
I think we're one of actually the better decks also to abuse this. And like, yeah, getting an uncounterable breach, a 4 mana uncounterable breach is good. A 7 mana uncounterable ad nause is okay. But like I said, just being able to just make your spell uncounterable, then move to combat, untap the 2 lands, this and the other land that you use to pay for it, and then just cast the spell on your main phase or your second main is really good.
Plus,
It kind of shores up the
grand abolishers, etc. You can limit the amount of interaction from your opponents. However, as my recent opponents will tell you, this does still leave you open to Mindbreak Trap. I've eaten 4 hard-cast Mindbreak Traps in the past 2 weeks, and it does hurt a little bit, and this won't save you from that, but it does close off all other options.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I mean, if you follow Envy's plan and you activate this, and then you go to combat and you untap, and then you cast your thing, and they try to Mindbreak Trap you, so then you can activate this again, and then you can cast a counterspell on the Mindbreak Trap, and all's good with the world.
Yeah, you can make your Force of Will that you cast for free uncounterable.
This is
for 2
true.
mana.
This is true.
Which I have done that. That's been pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I've used it. I've used it to win games when I have questionable windows, but I've also lost games because I had it available, and I just like, I'm going to protect this plan, and I'm going to play it out, and then I ended up short a mana or two because this, that, or the other thing, or that piece of removal. They didn't have any counter magic, but they did have removal or something. So.
Yeah, I've definitely had it where I've activated this casteristic and then it got bounced, and then I'm like, cool, sweet. Now I just lose.
Yeah,
It is important to know the upsides and downsides of everything. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And then our last in-color card for this set is Kishla Village. Same cycle of lands. It enters tapped unless you control an island or a swamp. This one's the green one. Taps your green, and you can spend 4 to surveil 2. Envy, I think this was your suggestion. It is a land outlet. If you have infinite mana and infinite untaps, it technically does mill your entire graveyard, potentially.
Yeah, it's just something I just wanted to bring up in case if, like, I'm always on the lookout for a good land outlet. It's not the best. I think Monumental Hunch is still probably the best outlet. There was a land that got printed in Final Fantasy that also is not bad, or actually 2 lands that was printed in Final Fantasy, but it's just something to, like, if you play this, like, it's kind of bad, but it also once you have infinite mana, you put your whole deck in the yard with Savines and stuff like that. You can assemble a win through that.
Technically, this does turn on Thassa's Oracle, but I do think this falls into the win more category, personally.
No, I agree. I just wanted to throw that out there because, like I'm saying, it is a land outlet.
I hadn't looked at this, and I think that Hinge is still probably the better choice, just because it's probably easier to keep your Hinge from being tapped, and realistically, if I'm gonna look at the top 4 or 5, I can't remember what Hinges cards, and put a historic card into my hand, I think that's better than Surveilling 2 for my 4 mana. 5 mana.
Yeah.
The
It
question
is 5.
becomes.
I'm sorry, I'm wrong.
The question becomes: do we play both and just saturate ourselves on land outlets at some point, and then we start pulling other outlets out of our deck? Like, I mean, does Kennen go away at some point? Like, he's a good card, and when he's good, he's one of those cards that's just really, really good. But most of the time, he's just an outlet, right? That draws the ire of the table because he's Kennen. So is there a point that we get enough of these half-baked land outlets that we just start playing more of them and less other outlets?
I don't
I'm
know.
ready for that quite yet. No, if it was between this and Kinnan, I think I'm staying on Kinnan because getting that extra mana off my permanents, non-land permanents, I like a lot more. I use that a lot more than I use the outlet for Kinnan personally, just in this specific example.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for the one good one to come through, like our Mount Doom in Bant. Like, that's what I'm waiting for. But, like, because I'm not even on Henge either. I don't really like the card. But it's just something, like I said, I threw it on the list because it is a land outlet. You can't use infinite mana. It is usable in combat if you have like extra cradle mana or whatever. You can just surveil 2 but it's probably not great. But like I said, just a throw in mention. It is a land outlet.
Alrighty. Well, our last two cards will be relatively quick on because they are off-color mentions. Just things to look out for, be aware that they exist. First up, we have Wild Ride, a almost harmless-looking card. It's just a red for a sorcery that gives +3/+0 and gains haste. The haste, I don't think really matters too much here. It also has Harmonize for 4 and a red, but you can buff a creature and then tap it with Harmonize and buff it again. And the only time that would be relevant is for 5-color Sisay. I think that this is kind of like Cultists of the Absolute, the 1-mana enchantment, except you don't have to sacrifice things. Obviously, only one turn as well, but if you've played against Sisay, you know they get that 7-power search off, and you're kind of scared. And this allows them to get it all the way up for just 2 red. So,
I think this is still a little too cute for Sisay. Like, it also gives haste, so like, I don't know. I haven't played Sisay like a bit.
This is making lists, to be clear. I have seen this in tournament lists, which is the only reason it came to mind, because I would normally glance over this card and be like, yeah, this thing sucks.
Vivi
as well, actually, too. Yeah, that's a very good call-out, which we will get to later when we talk Final Fantasy cards. But yeah, power matters things. This is 2 red to make 6 red. This is a ritual in Vivi.
No, 8 red, because it gets 2 Vivi triggers also.
Yeah, you're right. Yep.
That's, I mean, yeah, I didn't think about that either. Clay, why didn't you mention this before we were recording when we were talking about this? Because I had no idea why this was on this list to begin with. But that's interesting.
Ride,
like,
Wild
you can
Ride, Dragonstorm, win the game in Vivi. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, also just being able to like give your Marvin haste or give your Bloom Tender haste to be able to like activate Sisay for 1 red. Like, it can turn a 1 red to a Sisay activation, basically. If you have like a Bloom Tender or a Fabro out, which is pretty good.
Yeah, well, I mean, if I was playing Sisay, I'd cast this on Sisay, then harmonize this back onto my Bloom Tender that I just played, and then I'd use my Bloom Tender to activate my buffed Sisay.
I mean, that's kind of where I was like somewhat going to, but yeah, I mean, I can see why it's a
flexible card for just 1 card slot, and I think it pulls a lot more than it should. But, while this card has immediate effects, a card that does not, and I think might be good in the future, depending on what comes out, is Songcrafter Mage. It's a green-blue-red teamer, human bard with flash. It's a 3/2, and when it enters, target instant or sorcery gains Harmonize. Its Harmonize cost is equal to its mana cost. This is Harmonized Snapcaster Mage. I think that Harmonize is a really powerful mechanic, and while I don't think there's anything that can really abuse this right now, something in the future might. Now, that's very vague and wishy-washy because, literally anything can be broken in the future. Who knows? But Harmonize is a stronger mechanic than it looks, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's just the 3-pip is very, very a rough ask for a lot of decks.
Yeah, the triple this is an interesting card. I actually like this card. I don't know if it's playable in our format or not. It might find some niche play in a deck, but the thing I really like about this card and its design is, it's the triple pips to cast it. But essentially, I mean, it's harmonized flashback, but essentially it's giving a card in your graveyard flashback. But it's also a 3-power thing. So you spend 3 mana to give a card in your graveyard flashback with a 3 mana discount, because you tap it for the harmonize cost. So basically, you just get to cast a card out of your graveyard for its cost if it's got enough colorless mana in its cost. And I think that's a very powerful card to be looking at. I just I'm not 100% sure if the 3-color pips are gonna be playable. Like, if this had some weird combination of like hybrid pips, like, like it was a Gruul mana and an Izzet mana or something, and then like a colorless where you could. It was actually like a little bit more castable. I actually think it might see play, but I really don't think it has a spot right now. I mean, maybe Yidris plays it.
Yeah. I can see Rock Thrust playing this too, because you could just like cast Quarter Calling and then flash this in, and then this discounts Cord by 3 by itself. So you could just go to Boral Breeze Caller and then Spellseeker, go get your Talon Gates and your
Right,
Cradle,
yeah.
and then yeah.
And with
I could definitely see this playing that.
with Cord, you can convoke. Well, no, I don't think you can do both. I don't think you can convoke and
No.
harmonize. Those are both alternate.
No, you
casting
can.
lists.
No, Convoke is a way to pay the cost. It's not
But
a,
you can only
it's not a-
you can only tap the creature one time.
Yeah, I'm
Yes,
just saying
but
like
if you have a board full of things, you could convoke the Songcrafter Mage harmonize
You
the
can-
Songcrafter Mage and convoke your other creatures for the green pips
Yes.
and get double reduction.
yeah. Yeah, so which is like I'm actually thinking about it now, like that might not be terrible in Rock Grass.
If
But
you do Rock Thrust
yeah.
pilots, you can have that one for free.
yeah.
That does conclude our Tarkir Dragonstorm set review, and now it's for the set I'm excited about, Final Fantasy. We're going to start from the top with white cards again. And first up, we have the very unsuspecting but surprisingly powerful Phoenix Down. It's a one white pip artifact, and then you can spend 1 and a white, tap it, exile this artifact, so you can't recur this. But you can either, now, maybe you guys can tell me which one is stronger here, return target creature card with mana value 4 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped, or exile a target skeleton, spirit, or zombie.
That's
I
obviously
think-
the exile effect.
Yeah, I was gonna say the exile effect. It gets rid of Dockside when it gets unbanned because it came back from the grave.
I was going to say it hits Crom, but that, oh man.
Yeah,
That was...
that's so bad.
Anyways, this is the reanimation spell. It effectively is 3 mana, because it doesn't do anything for just the 1 pip. It does mean that you can break Glass Gearhulk this. So if you need a way to... Maybe your kitten's in your graveyard, maybe your meal's in your graveyard, you can put this in gifts and intuition piles because you can Savines this back. You can just play it out as an artifact from Mox Opal and let it sit there because everyone will look at this and be like, yeah, I don't really give a shit about this Phoenix Down on your board. It doesn't do anything because your graveyard is empty. That is probably the least likely scenario that you're going to use it, but it is an artifact.
Yeah.
I've had great success with this. What do you guys think?
I think this card is probably a bit underplayed. I think maybe like just in general, because like a lot of we can also talk about gifts and given too here. So just being able to just put it in a gifts pile is like crazy because you could just do like gifts and given or cast gifts and given, then go get a meal, Savine's Cradle, and this, and then you instantly like that's as long as you're able to resolve your Savines, like. That's a win right there. That's infinite mana by itself. Like I could probably put this in like TNT also because you could just go get this reanimate, and 2 other cards that you want to reanimate, like just like Hazel's and Devoted Druid by itself. Like that's really good.
Yeah, I think this is the same thing as Auroral Procession. But it's probably better. This is a piece of recursion, and it really comes to deck building choices for what recursion pieces you're going to play. Right now, we're all playing Savines because it synergizes so well with. Oh, shush! If you're not playing it, it synergizes so well with our intuition and gifts packages. We are playing things like Shifting Woodlands because it's just a land, so your opportunity cost again, and it's good. We're playing Ewit because Ewit is the combo piece, and then we start to question: do we need a 4th piece of recursion? Do we need a 5th piece of recursion? And what piece is that? Is that Phoenix Down? Is it Auroral Procession? Is it Noxious Revival? Is it a card we're going to talk about before we get to the end of White that starts with an M? Yeah, it's a good card. This card's definitely playable. This card's definitely on my radar. Will it ever find a slot in my deck? I don't know. The fact that you can grab it with Bright Glass is probably the biggest selling point, because just having another thing you can get to recur stuff with Bright Glass is probably huge.
It's also a Displacer Kit and Flicker too, which is pretty big.
Yeah.
And it basically extends your Savine's rec to 4 mana creatures, because you can, Savine's this back and then use that to get a 4 mana creature back. So, like Envy was saying, extends the gifts piles to include things like Captain Sisay, Break Glass Gear Hulk, Displacer Kit, Emil. Turns out we like 4 mana creatures a little bit. So it's quite good.
And it's also not limited to sorcery speed too. You can also reanimate things like either in your combat step to make sure you have the mana for it. You can reanimate something in your opponent's turn. Like, that's also not bad.
I will note.
Oh,
go ahead, Clay.
If you are playing this, it does reduce your pod line by 1 mana. Also,
true, because you can.
Reanimate. You leave Derevi in the yard.
Yep, you leave Derevi in the yard.
It will. The thing it brings back, and I forget this all the time. Luckily, it hasn't been necessarily relevant for me, but it does return the creature to the battlefield tapped.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to harmonize a Nature's Rhythm with your Bright Glass Gear Hulk after you reanimate this, that does not work because it's already tapped. But our next white card is a legendary creature, Tataru Taru. I hope you like alliteration. It's 1 and a white for a legendary creature, Dwarf Advisor, and when it enters, you do draw a card, and a target opponent may draw a card. And then, whenever an opponent draws a card, if it's not on their turn, you create a tapped treasure token. This ability triggers only once each turn. Notably, the trigger happens once. It is not per player, it is per turn. So if you have multiple opponents that draw a card on their turn, God forbid there's a Mystic and a Ristic on different people's boards, and they each draw off somebody, you're still only getting 1 trigger. If you have a Delny in play, you're still only getting 1 trigger. So this is Lotho at home. We can't play Lotho because we don't have black, but if you want your tapped treasure token, it's not a terrible option.
I'm not gonna lie, I low-key think this is bad. I don't know why decks are playing this. If you have a set up Bowmaster, it's kind of cute. But I don't like this card.
So the main inhibitor for me to want to play this is the fact that it only has 0 for power, so it can't give me Derevi triggers no matter what, and then the treasures are tapped. But so I haven't adopted the card yet, but what I've seen from its play against me is it's basically a miniature Smothering Tithe, and I think that I actually want to play it at some point in the slot that I would be playing Tithe in, because I've played Tithe, I've put it in, I've pulled it out, I've put it in, I've pulled it out. It's one of those cards that's just an overbearingly powerful card, but it doesn't really synergize with what Derevi wants to do at all. And Tataru Taru gives me a lower mana card that kind of gives me that little bit of the Smothering Tithe edge, but doesn't target the table at me, doesn't get stolen by other players, doesn't even really get killed by other players, while also generating value for me. And it's got a few other niche interactions, like the ability to be a pseudo outlet with Emil flickers, and by the way, that resets it, which means you would still get more treasures. Not sure if that's ever relevant, but I think this card is kind of a sleeper. I'm not 100% sure it's for every deck. I'm not even 100% sure it's for every deck. But if you're not watching this card for Derevi, I think you're, making a mistake.
I don't know. I just had this card played against me 2 or 3 times this past weekend, and it just didn't feel great. My opponent gave me a card, even because I was the best one to give a card to, and I had 5 cards in hand already, so it just gave me a 6 card, and then just he didn't make it back to his turn with all the tap treasures.
Yeah, the tap treasures feel really bad. But the comment of not making it back to your turn, I think you're more likely to make it back to your turn with Tataru Taru than you are with Smothering Tithe. And the real power behind Tithe is flash enablers, and playing one of those decks that just wants to draw cards and sit and grind on a flash enabler, and that's not Derevi.
So
It's just not.
the only I'm also more keen on Tithe right now because I'm on like Tithe, Mastermind, and Cost Reducer because that also just wins with that.
Or it goes overwhelmingly positive with Fairy Mastermind. Yeah.
Yes. So, like, I don't know. Like I said, it's this. I'm glad to be proven wrong. Anyone can prove me wrong. I would be glad to prove that this card is good. But like, as from what I've seen of it, this card just does not feel great.
No, it's definitely not Tithe, but it's 2 mana.
Yeah,
And
I get that.
That's where it's the sleeper card is because it's a 2 mana spell. If this had 1 power, like this wouldn't even be a conversation. Like it would be we're playing this card. But
yeah,
the 0 power just it kind of makes it wishy-washy.
That's why I'm not on the Soulless Jailer, because Soulless Jailer would be really good for us if it had 1 power, and it doesn't. Soulless Jailer is like the 0/4 that like
it's like a Draenith almost, yeah.
Yeah, it's a Draenith, but
Isn't it a 2/2?
No, it's a 0/4. It's a 0. Yeah, it's an
0/4.
Otherwise, I think I would straight think we should be playing it because it's just like it's really good and it's colorless. But
I thought it was a 2/2.
Yeah, because it's like it's good against it because I know I don't have the templating on how it works, but it gets the part of Graph Digger's Cage that you want and doesn't have the part that you don't want because Winota plays it. It's able to put creatures into play, but
it stops you from putting permanent cards from the graveyard to the battlefield. It doesn't stop creatures from coming out of the library, which is what we care about.
Yeah,
it
so
shuts
you
off
can't get an LED. You can't get an LED FF from Breach, but you can. Actually, you can because it goes to the stack before it goes, so that doesn't even stop that. But that's irrelevant right now.
Yeah, but
next up is Aerith Gainsborough with the steel chair. 2 and a white for a legendary creature, human cleric. It's got lifelink. Whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on Aerith Gainsborough, and whenever it dies, you can put X +1/+1 counters on each legendary creature you control, where X is the number of +1/+1 counters on Aerith. This is Heliod wearing a mask. You'll notice that it's very similar. It doesn't have the ability to grant lifelink to other creatures, but it does have lifelink itself. So you'd want to use this in kind of the same scenario. It's even the same mana cost, where you're using probably Ballista and either Agatha's Soul Cauldron. In this case, you need Agatha's Soul Cauldron to put the Ballista ability on Aerith, but you don't need to have any previous counters on Aerith because Soul Cauldron will put the counter on. You ping something, preferably a player's face. Aerith will trigger lifelink. You'll trigger Aerith again, put a +1/+1 counter. It's the Heliod combo. It's something that we know and tested. It is technically 1 mana cheaper than previously. You do get exposed to a little bit more removal because if either the Cauldron or Aerith get removed or bounced, etc., it kind of falls apart. But it is an option. And also, on an unrelated note, that art is fantastic.
Yeah, that art's super funny.
I mean, I like the art. My thing here is it's 1 mana cheaper than the Heliod combo. We already don't play the Heliod combo, but here's the difference between this and the Heliod combo. In this particular combo, all 3 cards have to be in a very specific board state, which is to say that the Ballista has to be in the yard. The Aerith. I'm not a Final Fantasy pro. This card, this has to be in play,
and you need Cauldron as well.
Yeah, and Cauldron has to be on the field. Whereas with Heliod Ballista, Cauldron. Cauldron isn't even necessary. It's just good recursion, and Ballista can be on the field and doesn't have to be in the yard. So it just creates a better A plus B little c combo, whereas this is A plus B plus C. You have to have all three. So I think that even though it's 1 mana cheaper, this just doesn't have a place in our list. Now, I can see this being played in some random Heliod Stacks deck if that ever comes back. But that's about it. Maybe I'll.
Yeah. I was a little bit higher earlier, like in the week about this, but like, I thought it saved a lot more mana than it did. Because I may be swayed by other formats on how decent this combo is, but I don't know. Like 1 mana is not like, even though we say a lot, 1 mana is like a lot on combos. Like 1 mana in this case for like the drawbacks you get is not a lot.
1 mana out of 11 or 12 is
Yeah.
a lot less than 1 mana of like 4 or 5. So
Yeah.
you know,
I will
it's an
say it
option,
is a lot. It is easier to get Walking Ballista in the yard than you think because you could just cast it for 0 and it just dies. But oh well, whatever. It's still great art.
It certainly is. And more great art, also incredibly cute, is our next card. Delivery Moogle. It's a Moogle. It's 3 and a white. It has flying. It's a 3/2. And when this creature enters, search your library and or graveyard for an artifact card with mana value 2 or less. Reveal it and put it into your hand. If you search your library this way, shuffle. Big key takeaway here, and or graveyard. It's got that finale text we talked about earlier. Clay, I'll let you take this one because you kind of have more playtime with this than I think both of us do combined.
Yep.
So one of the big problems that people have had or have said or cited with Bright Glass on Displacer Kitten is just the innate not having a outlet if you only have Bright Glass and Kitten. And this kind of solves the problem. Like if I just cast Bright Glass and then I just cast Kitten and then I start storming, probably don't win because I don't have another card. And if I have a single tutor and I just tutor Bright Glass and then I just tutor Kitten, I probably don't win because I don't have another card. Whereas the normal stair step for that is you tutor your Ewit first, and then you tutor your Bright Glass, and then you tutor your Kitten. But that's a whole bunch of extra mana because you had to tutor Ewit first to start this whole thing. Delivery Moogle gets around by being a card that can replace both Ewit and Bright Glass. So if you can Delivery Moogle and Kitten, you just combo right there on the stack. You just go get the diamond, play the diamond, get the Lotus Petal, and just start looping because it's your Ewit in that scenario. What I found is because it's 4 mana, it is just clunky. The card definitely has potential because it's tutorable, because it's 4 mana, but Bright Glass just overshines it. So unless we get another card on the other side of the combo, another Kitten-esque card that works with Bright Glass and with Moogle, and maybe isn't quite as good with Bright Glass, but is good with Moogle, or we get a 2-drop artifact that matters, I don't see this seeing play. Now, if we get that 2-drop artifact, though, then maybe it sees play.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I could see the appeal of just instead of like doing your chain with where you pod your Derevi into Bright Glass and then you start your chain that way. You can pod into Kitten, you flicker pod, and then you get Derevi back out, and then going into this, and then just assembling it that way. It's like it's smoother that way technically, but like it also doesn't pay into Ristic as well as the Bright Glass line does, because you can just Bright Glass also goes grab like Static Prison or like whatever 1 mana removal spell you want for the Ristic too. So like it just doesn't, it feeds worse into that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Clay's pretty spot on here. If we ever get that 2 mana artifact, then this will start to shine over Bright Glass. But Bright Glass being able to grab creatures, artifacts, or enchantments that are 0s or 1s is just overshining. The typing on it is overshining the extra mana because we don't have that 2 mana artifact that matters that much.
Yeah. Card's definitely good. You want to play it, like, you can play it. Just understand that you're going to have clunky hands with it. And, I mean, you can play it to recur something. You can play it to go get your Agas if you build, like, a survival of the fittest deck that, plays a bunch of activated abilities. And, like, there's definitely brewing with this card, but
it also, like, it does put the card into play too, which it does
It
save
does
on
not do
mana
that.
also.
It goes to your hand.
does
I can't read. It's fine. Card's worse. I do say that now. Yeah, put it into your hand. Yeah.
You actually want it in your hand because otherwise you can't trigger the Displacer Kitten to keep it going.
Oh yeah. That makes sense.
Next up, we're all done with white. Moving into blue, we have Gogo, Master of Mimicry. 2 and a blue for a legendary wizard, and it has the activated. It's a 2/4, and it has the activated ability for XX tap. Copy target activated or triggered ability you control X times. You may choose new targets for the copies. This ability cannot be copied itself, and X cannot be 0. Mana abilities can't be targeted in the reminder text there. That's because they don't use the stack. However, things that can be copied are Derevi triggers, and that would potentially untap Gogo, and potentially other things as well. To do a little bit of the math for you, if you want to do X equals 2, that's obviously 4 mana, so you need to have a permanent that taps for 5 mana, and you spend the other one on Gogo itself, so you can keep it going. But, 5 mana permanent, or 5 mana generating permanent, Chromatic Orrery. If X is equal to 3, you need 7 mana made over 2 permanents. X equals 4 is 9 mana over 3 permanents. Basically, you add 2 mana, you can split it up over an additional permanent. This will create mana in awkward phases because our Derevi triggers are either in combat. You could do it for an ETB in a main phase, potentially, if you want to make infinite mana that way. It also goes on infinite with Unstoppable Plan, which untaps all your non-land permanents in your end step. So basically, you probably need a Flash Enabler to take good advantage of this. But it is a way to make things interesting, that's for sure. I'm not personally running this card, but it is spicy tech.
So, me and a couple of other people in the Discord were talking about this. There are a lot of things you can copy with its ability. You could pay 4 or 3 mana for a second pod activation. Like these are all like really cute niche situations. So you could pay 5 mana for a second Yisan activation. You can do 2 mana for a second ring activation. But like this card's pretty bad. It's so clunky. It's 3 mana that doesn't do anything because it needs haste.
If it was X tap and not XX tap, I understand why it is that way, but it'd be much better.
Yeah.
Even if it was just XX and not tap, or heck, XX1 or XX2, the tap is actually what makes it kind of hard to use really, really well. And I get it. It just keeps it from being an infinite piece. I don't think this is where we want to be. I think it's a cool card. I think it's going to have some fun lower end casual, high power casual play. It's not going to do us for our cEDH decks. It's just
I could see this being slotted into either Kennen or Sisei. Neither one of those decks are running it right now. Being able to flip into this with Kennen and then pay 9 mana to get 2 Kennen activations is not bad. Paying 7 mana for a double Sisei activation is not bad, but there are better cards for this. This is a legend for Sisei. That is a good note, but man, like they had to like neuter this card like each and every way possible. It's just so awkward.
If you're feeling underwhelmed now, I've got plenty more underwhelming cards for this game.
Oh yeah. Oh, I know.
Next up, we have, please forgive me if I butchered this, Louisoix Sacrifice. It's a 1 blue instant. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you can sack a legendary creature or pay an additional 2 mana. So it's either a blue and a sack or 3 mana. Counter target activated ability, triggered ability, or non-creature spell. This is an offer you can't refuse, plus stifle. I don't think that we want this. Sure, that we can, it's flare of denial, but also stifle. It's not free, ever. That's my main problem with it. Sure, I might want to sacrifice Derevi to put it back in the command zone because resetting that sometimes is nice. It is a relatively cheap stifle. Like, sure, you could just run regular. It's more flexible than just straight stifle for effectively the same mana cost plus a sacrifice. Uh, it's a little less than Trickbind, but Trickbind has split second, which is what makes that card good. And then you can hit a non-creature spell, so it's kind of like a Fierce or a you know, offer you can't refuse. The thing I like about Flare Denial is that it hits any spell. I could hit the Grand Abolisher if I needed to. I could hit a very problematic commander coming down if someone burned all their resources for it. This doesn't do that. I don't think that we're going to run this. We don't have a free commander like Rograk to burn to this, you know?
Yeah, having to sack a legendary creature also just like it's pretty rough. Like I think this is only like a rock card, and like not even like Roglists are playing. Like some are, some aren't. I think
If you're
people are just
sacking
like
Rog,
testing
you
the
want to
water.
do it to Flare duplication instead of this, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Like I think they're just like testing this to like play it because just being able to stifle a Thoracle trigger, like having the option for it is pretty nice. But like man, these are rough. Uh, all right.
I mean,
Any
it's
thoughts,
stifle.
Clay?
It's a good piece of interaction. It's stifle. It's the legendary clause makes it probably not great for us, but it's a 3 mana stifle that can also hit spells. And so if you want the stifle effect, it's probably one of the ones to play because it hits spells also. Because I mean, you've got Tails End and Trickbind and Stifle itself, and it's really about what else is on those cards. Because one of the big things about Stifle is it only hits abilities. So, um, yeah.
All right. Well, next up, we have Realm Sketching. It's a sorcery for 2 blue blue. You can create a token that's a copy of target artifact, creature, or land. Now, this one's kind of costly. It's 4 mana. It's a sorcery. I don't think any of us are playing it. But it does allow us to copy a Cradle from the Rock Thrash deck. You can copy a target artifact or creature. It doesn't have to be something you control. If someone's got a One Ring on the board, you can make an indestructible token of the One Ring. You will not gain protection. You didn't cast it, but you still have a ring. You know, it doesn't hit enchantments. You cannot copy a Ristic. You cannot copy a Smothering Tithe. Notably, also, Gaia's Cradle is legendary. That is also a card that we play. If you copy someone else's and then you play your Cradle, you'll have to sacrifice one of them. You don't just get 2 Cradles. So, it's something, but it's like a lot of these, doesn't feel quite enough.
I think this one will be like in the back of my mind of stuff to like test. 'Cause I'm in the like my phase of like I'm trying to find like dumb wacky cards to like use in my test slot because I'm like trying to get all the stuff for the gifts piles right now. So I'm kind of just like in the middle or in the midst of trying to cut things for gifts. So I mean like I could definitely like just slot this in to try it, but it's better than like the 2 other blue cards that we've talked about in my opinion, but not great still.
I'd probably run this over like copy land, but I probably wouldn't run it over copy artifact if I was running copy artifact.
Well, I mean, this is copy artifact and copy land. If this had enchantment too, I think people would also
Yeah.
play it more because it would just copy Ristics and Mystics.
Yeah, it doesn't say enchantment, and that's why it won't see play. It's 4 mana. I mean, just play Metamorph.
Yeah, I would just play Clever
Just play
Impersonator.
Clever
Actually,
Impersonator. The ability to copy a land is really not that valuable here. There are, if you're really worried about copying a land, to do it. Yeah.
yeah, like if you wanted to really copy a land, I would just play either Vesuva or Thespian Stage, which is also
That's
something
mid
I would.
stage.
Yeah, Thespian Stage is better, but if you're wanting to like, those are the 2 effects that you would play.
All right. Next up, we have Traveling Chocobo. 2 and a green for a bird. Hell yeah, birds. You may look at the top card of your library at any time as a special action. You may play lands and cast bird spells from the top of your library, and then if a land or a bird you control entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. There's a lot of restrictions on this card. Yes, you get to look at the top card. It is a future sight. You get to play lands. That's quite powerful. If you've ever played against Glarb, you know that that's pretty good. Unfortunately, if you have anything other than a land, I guess, or a bird, but you're probably not on very many birds, believe it or not, that card you get to look at it, and that's all you can do. It's going to stay there. And then additionally, ETB Doubler. It's like a limited Delny. Yes, it can help you go off with a meal. Yes, when you activate Derevi, put it into play, you get 2 triggers. That's cool. But if you go to combat, you don't get double triggers. It is not a permanent entering. That's just a triggered ability happening. I would love for this to be more playable for us. My wallet is very thankful that it's not, because I would need a pretty version like this, and God bless. But it's just not quite enough, unfortunately.
If I get one more question about if this card is a Derevi card, I'm going to lose my mind. I get asked this at every event. I get DMs about this. This is not a Derevi card. It is too niche.
Give me a second. I need to send it in via DM.
I think that's a hate.
Yeah. Huh?
It's
too
fine.
limited.
No, it's fine. Jake will just leak my DMs again. It's fine.
Hey, no, I mean, come on. Cloud Shift, Ephemerate.
Yes.
What's the intuition pile? No, the card's just too niche. Like this would be a high-powered bird tribal. That's where this card plays.
Yeah.
The ability to play the lands off the top is nice, and the extra doubler is nice, but it just doesn't do anything.
Right.
It's a 3/2 most of the time.
Like, yeah, it doesn't even fly.
Yeah.
So there are. I was going to say there are 2 better effects for playing stuff off the top of your deck also that are in the format already. There's Elodomri and Augur of Autumn. One lets you cheat creatures into play, and the other one lets you play creatures and lands.
I think you're forgetting Reality Chip too. Doesn't that let you do
anything? Reality Chip. Yeah, Reality Chip, but also it requires you to equip it to a creature.
I mean, that's a lot easier to do than have it be a bird spell on top of your deck.
Yeah. And, like, Roaming Throne's also a card, and I would rather play Roaming Throne over this also.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, you have Delny and Roaming Throne, Hellish Norn competing for this slot, and it's not even a slot you can play 2 to 3 of these in. It's too niche. If this was like, if it had more than birds or some more application, like we play 2 birds, 2.
I think I'm on 3 because I'm on Aven Mind Sensor right now, but
yeah,
and like
Derevi, Aven Mind Sensor. That's about it.
I mean, we just gotta play Masquid Nexus to turn all of our stuff into birds. Like that's meta, right?
Only if this is my commander.
Oh,
not legendary.
Exactly.
Mockingbird makes whatever.
Yeah.
So you can get a double ETB off of whatever you clone, but that's incredibly niche and not going to be relevant. There was a cool Legacy deck I saw recently that had 4 of these in it, but having 4 of these in a 60-card deck is very different from having 1 of them in a 99-card deck. But I know you guys aren't tired of Chocobos, so I have another one.
Yeah.
Another unplayable bird. Legendary creature. Choco, Seeker of Paradise. 1 and Bant. It's a Derevi activation. It's a 3/5. It's got landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, Choco gets +1/+0 until end of turn. And whenever 1 or more birds you control attack, look at that many cards from the top of your library. You may put 1 of them into your hand, then put any number of land cards from among them onto the battlefield tapped, and the rest into your graveyard. We don't run enough birds. It's just not a thing. You're looking at 2 cards, 3 cards maybe. Why are you attacking with Birds of Paradise?
No, it's this Traveling Chocobo and this Traveling Chocobo and Derevi. Bam, easy. That's how we slot in the Traveling Chocobo.
You get to look at 3 cards. You can put 1 in your hand, put a land into play. Maybe you get 2. and then the last card gets milled. Like it's
it's for Agatha Soul Cauldron, so you can eat something.
as a
It's
Soul Cauldron believer, brother, that is not the argument you think it is.
Oh no, I'm not.
I know you're memeing on me, but
Yeah, yes. I mean it's a cool high power bird commander that's not Derevi. So
I built it as a
Yeah,
casual deck so I can look at lands.
it has the same. It has the same problem. We just don't. There's not enough good birds. Like even if these were good enough to be played by their own, and you put them in the deck, and they got stronger because of birds, that's still only 3 more birds. Like these are tribal centric cards, and they're the wrong tribe for us to be able to build around. If they were wizard tribe, we could actually build a deck around them and consider playing them. But as bird tribe, it's not there.
yeah, it's rough.
It's rough out there.
Sorry, typal.
Yeah.
I gotta be PC.
Yeah.
Typal now.
All right. So I've not played Choco in a serious competitive format, but I have played the Buster Sword in a serious competitive format. I've tested this card out. It's a 3-mana equipment. It's an artifact, obviously, being an equipment. The equipped creature gets +3/+2. That turns Derevi into a 5/5 if you don't know how to do math. Whenever an equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, and then you may cast a spell from your hand with mana value less than or equal to that damage without paying its mana cost with an equip of 2. So it's effectively 5 mana. This is a slow card. It is okay in a grindy game. Lets you put weird spells in the stack during your combat phase because that spell you cast ignores timing restrictions. Obviously does not grant everything flash, but your commander has evasion. You spend 3 mana on this with like a mana vault. You equip it. You go to combat. You get an untapped trigger. You get this trigger. Maybe you put an Emil on the stack. Maybe you put Eldritch Evolution on the stack. We've got a good number of spells that are 5 CMC or less. It should be all of them, minus Chromatic Orrery. So it's basically cast a spell from your hand for free. And you draw a card. It does more work than you think it does, but you're probably not tutoring for it. And I know a lot of people, that's their deal breaker. If it's not a card I'm going to tutor for, why am I putting it in my deck?
So, I mean, this card is bonkers in 60 card formats. I'm just gonna put that out there now. But
this card's won me games. Absolutely.
yeah. But like, man, like also buffing Derevi to have it not trigger with Delany is all. Like, I guess you could just move it, so I mean, like there's that function of it, but like you have to play this, so it's a 5-mana investment by itself. You have to connect, and then you get to cast a single spell. Like I could have just spent 5 mana on casting Emil, and then gone from there. But like
for that argument is that I did that and I cast Emil for free, and then I used my mana that I still had up and untapped from the Derevi trigger to actually start activating Emil to then go infinite. But and allowed me to keep up my interaction to do so to protect Emil. It's good again. The longer the game goes, the better this card's going to be. If you're trying to win on turn 3 or 4, this card's not going to be worth your time. You could equip it to other things. Polyweb Prodigy is pretty hot with this card, but I had a 7/5 Aven Mind Sensor at one point in my testing. Funny.
I think equipment are just kind of just like bad in cEDH. Besides like what Paradise Mantle, I think, and like Reality Chip, if you're running that, I don't think there's any other equipment in cEDH, right? Besides those two. Umbra Mantle also, because that just makes infinite mana with some stuff. But is there anything else in the format? Any other equipment that I'm forgetting?
I don't know. Vivi might play Bone Splitter.
Yeah,
but off the top of my head. There's some weird decks that'll play like Thornbite Staff, but those are like low color decks.
I mean, I don't know. I agree. It's a good grinding card, but like, I don't see the format. The format's actually speeding up somewhat, so I don't think this is going to be great going into that unless they like ban something else out of Turbo, which I don't. They're not going to ban anything else for the rest of the year, so.
The benefit here is the ability to spend your 5 mana over 2 turns to get your 4 mana spell theoretically a turn early, and have mana to protect it. I mean, you could say, let's just say, cast Derevi, then cast this potentially off of the untap from the Derevi ETB. Then the next turn you can equip it and activate Mistrise mana you now have, and then go to combat with it and cast your Emil or uncounterable. Like there are definitely like good play lines that exist around this, but its mana investment is high. Yeah, you can grind with it, and if someone lets you keep it, which they probably will, because you put this down on the table, they're fuck, huh? What? So, I mean, it's probably just fine. The question becomes, are you actually advancing your game, or are you just getting lucky when you're playing it?
I will say that giving your Derevi the ability to Omni Slash is kind of funny.
Can also eat a Crom.
Yeah, it can also eat a Crom.
We got Phoenix down on an equipment. Let's go. All right.
Okay.
Our next card. You'll probably see it in decks more often than you'll see Buster Sword. Starting Town. It's a land. It's a town. It will enter tapped unless it's the first, second, or third turn of the game. And this is a better mana confluence. Better is in quotes here because it can tap for a colorless, or you can pay the life to add 1 mana of any color. This is not City of Brass. That is a payment, not a trigger. So you can't kill somebody if that's on their field. You're probably going to see it in probably turbo decks because they're trying to end the game before it even ever comes in tapped. But once that tap condition is met and it's turn 4 or higher, there's no way to make that untapped, at least as it enters. You can make it, I stand corrected. You could have effects that will either untap it, like an Amulet of Vigor. There's the Soul Tai Turtle that makes things enter permanently tapped or untapped based on its whether it's tapped or tapped. But otherwise, you crop rotate into it, you fetch it with any sort of tutor, it'll be tapped. But it's good for color fixing. If you have multiple colors in your deck, I don't think necessarily we need it because 3 color is not too bad for color fixing, but like 4 and 5 will probably be more interested. It's something that you'll see for sure.
I think I'm going to slot it in because I'm actually seeing a bit more Najeela in my meta, and being able to make mana outside Bant has been more relevant lately.
That is true. It can tap for anything. You clone something with an ability, you can activate that ability.
I mean, mana confluence is strictly better.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, City of Brass is probably strictly better. What? Tarnished Citadel is just better, probably.
I don't know. Tarnished Citadel is a lot. It bolts you. It comes into play untapped. Yeah.
That's fair, but the risk of it being tapped is a big deal in our format. It's a lot of tempo. The card is good for what it does, which is that it's another rainbow land. We're a 3-color deck. I don't see the need for the rainbow. We already don't even play them all. There's Spire, whatever the other one is. It Spire of Industry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you have to have an artifact. Honestly, us having an artifact, we probably we play enough of them that having just one is a pretty high odds. I mean, there's even like Glimmer Void that relies on having an artifact isn't necessarily terrible. And we don't play these cards. Our decks aren't built, but the concessions to your deck build play these cards is probably not that high. And I mean, Reflecting Pool does this pretty well, to be honest.
Exotic Orchard, but I think most of us are on Exotic Orchard.
Yeah. I could see maybe this is better than Forbidden Orchard in the line of of cards because the 1/1 blocker is not a happy thing for us to be giving away, but I think this card is overhyped. I definitely think this card is playable, and I definitely think there are decks in our want it, but I think this card is overhyped because I think when it was spoiled, people saw, oh, it's a land that and makes any color mana, and that in every deck, and everyone have it. But this isn't a card that comes in untapped. This is a card that might come, and that's where the relevant question falls. And a lot of people are probably slotting this in, and they're missing out on some other options that are probably better for their deck before they get this far. Does that mean that you don't want to play this, that you can't get that far? No, I just think that it's overhyped. I think people are rushing to slot it, and it's not.
I could definitely see that argument. Like, but like I said, I think I'm only going to slot it in just because of the fact that I'm seeing an uptick. I'm seeing an uptick in Najeela, and just being able to make mana outside Bant is big if you Drake a Najeela or clone a Najeela. Other than that, if you're not seeing a lot of Najeela, I don't really think you need this. It is flavorful. I will give it that. Like, just starting town, because it's the first town you enter when you start the game up. So it's very flavorful with that. Well. Yeah.
All right, our last on-color card. I'm actually pretty excited about this one. Not because it's going to be good, but because I love Final Fantasy X. But Kimahri, Valiant Guardian. It's a 4-mana weird clone. 2, a green and a blue. Legendary creature, Cat Warrior. Hanging out with Kutzel. It's got Vigilance and the ability Ronso Rage. He's learned the Fiend's way of fighting. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Kimahri and tap target creature an opponent controls. Then you may have Kimahri become a copy of that creature, except its name is Kimahri Valiant Guardian, and it has Vigilance and this ability. So it will always get bigger. It's effectively a 4/4 because it doesn't need haste in order to trigger this ability, and it can kind of clear the way. So if you need to have a 4/4 Timna with Vigilance, if you need to have a 4/4 Crom, it's good at copying other commanders. It's not like Scheming Fence where it will disable their abilities or anything like that. You're not Gilded Draking their commander away. The tapping down is relatively minimal as far as like suppression goes. But if it gets you in another Derevi trigger, sometimes that's all you need. And it can be legendary. You could have a copy of whatever that thing is on board. You can copy a Kinnan, and then you have 2 Kinnans, and it's kind of like having a Delny, where you would get multiple additional mana. I think it's got some exploration. I haven't picked up my copy of this yet, but I know, Envy, you were going to test this out. But we will see. It's got some cool art of Behemoth in the background there. But
it was on my list to test out. I just think... So, one, I think this is a bit of a flavor fail because it doesn't have jump. And that was like one of his big abilities. And what was his other ability? The one that steals abilities? Was it Lancet? Is that what it is?
Lancet is what, yeah. And if you copy something that teaches you your overdrive, which is Ronso Rage, then it gives you a full overdrive.
Okay. I was gonna say maybe they should have named it Lancet, but like Ronso Rage also works with his overdrive. But so I was actually thinking about playing this in my event that I went to last weekend. I ended up going with Kona, which also Kona, surprisingly, did pretty well this last weekend. But it was just one of those things where I just wanted to be able to have like a good 4-mana play, and it. So this also somewhat relies on having a creature that an opponent controls out to make it like be like somewhat decent. And like a lot of the stuff that I'm seeing right now is I did see Najeela this past weekend, and it would have been really great to copy that. But other than that, like nothing like really great was on the battlefield that I could have copied. Because Rogthras was playing. I saw a lot of Rogthras. I saw a Vivi, which Vivi may have been okay. But like a lot,
instantly get 4 mana with this boy.
Yeah, but like it doesn't really like, and it's only it's at the beginning of combat, so like you don't get the enters triggers off the clones that you want, like how you would normally do. So you can't like have a clone become a spell seeker, or you can't have it. It can't work with Derevi with the Chromatic Aura either.
Well, you can't copy your own stuff anyway.
Yeah.
It's only.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, so like you're fully dependent on that. So like I think it might just be like I know we're trying to somewhat avoid now from saying it's meta dependent, but I think if you're seeing a lot more creature decks in your meta, it might be okay, but it's going to be one of those cards that like we might just need to test more to see if it's good.
I don't think anything in your meta is gonna make this any better or worse than it is. Like the only meta dependent thing that I can think about for copying because of the combat clause is like copying a Kefka. Because like you just anything else you just play a clone and you get your ETB and you get your other stuff. It's kind of cool that you can switch this and you're not committed all in. But remember, like it's a 3/3 beater, which is cool. But if you copy something, it's no longer a 3/3. It's now whatever you're copying. So I mean, there's good clone targets here, but don't we just want to
Yeah.
play? Don't we just want to play Flesh Dupe and Metamorph and
Mockingbird.
Yeah.
Mockingbird, Adaptive Automaton? Oh, wait, that's not the one I'm thinking of. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's just there just seems like a better automaton. Not what else am I thinking of? I think of the 6 mana one. Anyway, not
Autoton
relevant.
Soldier is
Oh,
what you're thinking
Autoton
Autoton
of.
Soldier.
Soldier, yes.
Auto
Yeah.
Soldier. Yeah, that's the one. But like it's a clone. That has a cool kind of ability that can be changed, but it misses out on one of the best parts of a clone.
The ETBs is like the big thing.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I felt like onto it, which is why I didn't end up slotting it in. I will say it's another 4 mana clone, and 4 mana cards are not terrible because you could just pot Derevi into it if you really want to. But like, you just need to have your opponent like play like a good creature for it.
But I already have Metamorph at
Yeah,
4,
I know.
Winvala at 4, and Bright Glass at 4. Like, I'm not needing for a random value pod play. Like, at all. And then I've got win cons in Kitten and Emil.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, I get. Yeah, I'm just
I figured it out. I got it, boys.
okay.
Stasis.
Stasis.
Does have vigilance.
Uh,
Yes.
Yeah, I will say it is kind of cool that you can turn it into like your opponent's like Bloom Tender or Fabra, and then it has vigilance with it, so it connects still, and then you could tap it like afterwards. That's kind of cute.
Stasis.
Yeah, Stasis.
I got it, boys. I solved the problem. Stasis is making a comeback.
All right. Well, we are out of on-color cards, so let's move into our off-color lightning round real quick. First card up, kind of bad. Interesting with cost reducers. I would not have put this on the list until I got hit with it. Snort. Each player may discard their hand. It's a sorcery for 3 and a red. Each player may discard their hand and draw 5. It's a really weird wheel, and if you are an opponent that drew, then you take 5 damage and a flashback a red, 5 and a red. I've seen this in Rowan. It's probably the only deck that's going to play it, but it definitely
cute.
It's weird when you wheel twice in a turn for 2 red, draw 10 cards. It's interesting. Just wanted to throw it out there just so people know what it is. It's got weird art, but
I'm
The
not gonna
bad
lie.
will of the Jeskai.
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, Will it just I think is better. I had no idea what this card was, and I was just like, I'm just gonna let him talk about it. So I had no idea what it was when on our outline. It's just like, are you just like laughing that we're just not playing like other cards or something?
no, it's a real card. It's got a real
Yeah.
title. It comes from 6. The guy there, his name is Typhon, and his legendary move is Snort, where he just sneezes and blows you off the airship. It's kind of a comedic fight, but
I've only played 7, 10, and a bit of 14. So I don't have like a lot of experience with Final Fantasy stuff, so
all good. An actual card you will see across the table, though, is Kefka, Court Mage / Kefka, Ruler of Ruin. This is a 2 in Grixis legendary human wizard. Whenever he enters and attacks, each player discards a card, then you draw a card for each card type among cards discarded this way, and you can spend 8 to flip him, and then each opponent sacrifices a permanent. It does not say non-land permanent. You can sack a land. And then he's 4/5 on the ground normally, and he's a 5/7 flyer that says whenever an opponent loses life during your turn, you draw that many cards. This is Grixis card draw. It's Grixis hand attack. It's surprisingly good. Someone in my play group has picked this up recently, and it's performed a lot better than I thought. And I'm pretty impressed with this card. I think it's got legs, and if you flip it, wings.
Yeah, yeah. I actually think I actually like Wizards printing these types of cards. It kind of enables more of a not a turbo-y Grixis plan, but a more of a mid-range Grixis plan, which I think I've been enjoying more and more. That they've been printing stuff like this. It's a cool card, and it is a great card advantage engine.
If your opponent flips it, celebrate.
Yeah, clone the absolute living shit out of this every time.
No. If they flip it, they're probably going to kill themselves. The power of this card is its front side, and the fact that is an attack trigger.
Yeah, it's just it enters or attacks is crazy.
Yeah, it strips your hand a lot faster than you might think it does. You're like, okay, cool. The deck that I play against will often tutor for LED to just put discard their entire hand to put this into play because it will draw them the cards they need again, and then they have LED in the bin for breach, and it's like, oh, okay, you get this out on turn 1 or turn 2, it's effective.
Remove it. Just remove the commander. Just move on with your life. Remove the card. It's a Grixis pile. We all know what Grixis piles do. They play Breach, they play Thoracle, they play Black Tutors. Oh no. But this has the unique card advantage engine in the command zone, and if this just drew 4 cards on ETB, it wouldn't be good. But the fact that it makes people discard a card also is incredibly disruptive to our game plans, and makes when you start holding interaction, you start pitching interaction, then suddenly it just goes off in front of you, and you're like, well, I just had to discard my interaction. Oops. It's something to be noticed. It's not as fast as the Grixis Turbo Shells, but it's still a Grixis pile, and yeah, I'm having fun with it. I've seen it, I've played against it. It's a Grixis pile. That's just nothing more to say. Add this to the playable Grixis commanders.
Yeah, I think I might be proxying this out as as one of my other decks I play, because I've seen it and it looks very fun. Just being able to just grind as a Grixis player is I'm not really turbo shelled. I'm more of a grindy player, and I love the fact that you can just grind games with this, or have the option to anyway.
If you like Underworld Breach the Commander, how about Underworld Breach the Commander number 2? This is Terra, Magical Adept. It's a red and a green. Its actual color identity is 5 color, as you can see from the mana ability on the back. But it is a human wizard warrior. When it enters, mill 5 cards, put up to 1 enchantment card milled this way into your hand, and then 4 red-green, tap it to flip it, and it becomes a saga. Also a creature. That's kind of the whole thing from this set. It's a 6/6 flying wizard. And then the first 3 lore counters, remember sagas get their lore counter on ETB, and then at the beginning of your main phase after your draw step, as a turn-based action, you can create a token of a copy non-legendary enchantment you control. It gains haste if it's a saga. You get up to 3 lore counters, sacrifice it at the beginning of your next end step. And then to the 4th one, you get double Wooburg, exile it, put it back to the front side. Now, it's 5 color Breach deck. You can run Adnaz, you can run Breach, you've got the good cards. What I recently learned is that the backside does in fact have text, because I didn't put a lot of stock into that first copy a target non-legendary enchantment you control. If you have Spark Double that you cast after that resolves, you have infinite copies of Spark Double, because it is a non-legendary copy of Esper Terra. And then the saga abilities, you just get 3 more copies of Spark Double with haste, with flying 6/6s, and you just swing. It kind of baffled me, and I was like, oh, that is how that works.
Yeah, it's it's their pivot plan, so that it's just like their backup way to, besides Thoracle and Breach, it's just like as another. Oh, and I know some lists are playing Food Chain too. This is like
Yes.
probably the best Food Chain commander that's been printed. And it has a win outside that too, but it's just like one slot in your deck that you can still play as like a somewhat decent clone, and it just wins games through it.
Now you do have to flip it. That does cost 6 mana, but plus the
Yeah, it's
4
10 mana.
for-
Yeah, it's 10 mana total. But I mean, like sometimes, like I know there's probably some mana like enchantments that you can get that make mana too, so that like you could just create
carpet of
a
flowers,
token.
things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, so you could just make a second carpet of flowers and then go to your second main and then go from there or something.
Heuristic Study. Oh,
Yeah. I mean, well, it makes a token copy of Ristic Study too, but like you
It's got the
sacrifice on
Astral
an
Dragon
instant.
effect, yeah. It doesn't
Yeah.
make it a creature, but it does make you a copy, and you can do that.
Yeah, it's double Ristic for your turn, but you're also spending 6 mana for double Ristic.
It does, yeah, it is for your turn, because it'll sacrifice
Yeah.
at the beginning of next end step.
Yep. But it also it enters and then can get you a Ristic Study too.
Bleh.
I think it's a cool commander. It's definitely the best Food Chain commander, and I'm definitely here for some Food Chain action. I think that that card is underplayed, and I think it should see more.
What's the Food Chain combo here?
You
So you
can
make
make
it into Food Chain mana with Squee, obviously.
Yep, and then you
Then
can
what?
do it on Terra, then you mill Breach, and you put Breach in your hand.
You could do
Okay,
that.
now what?
There's
You have Breach in
also
your hand. You still have. I mean, what do you do now?
well
You have
there's
infinite Food Chain mana.
They wanna
there's
know when you cast
multiple
Breach.
there's multiple ways you can get there. So there's people are playing Perforos to be able
Perforos
to
would do it.
Overload of the Bailmerk to put Thoracle back in your hand.
yeah. Because once you play Perforos with your Food Chain mana, you could just keep Food Chaining your Terra and then kill the table that way.
Yeah, Perforos is fine.
Yeah, and then the Overlord also, but I think people are moving away from the Overlord because it's not great. It's like just one of those cards where it's like it's like one slot in your deck, but it just like cleans up a lot of your wins. It's a quirky deck. I like it.
All right, we're almost at the end here. We still got a couple more commanders to talk about. Vivi, you've probably heard about this card. The hype on this card is completely through the roof. Overhyped, I'd even say. It's probably one of the better Izzet commanders. I'd say it competes with Stella Lee. It is a 1 blue-red wizard. You can activate it for 0 to add X mana in any combination of red or blue, where X is its power. You can only activate it once per turn and only on your turn. And then whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you put a +1/+1 counter on Vivi, and it pings everyone for 1. You can combine this with a Curiosity effect to draw 3 every time you ping. You can just, we discussed Wild Ride earlier, so you can Wild Ride, Harmonize Wild Ride. They could do 2 pings along the way, 2 additional +1/+1 counters, as Clay pointed out. Vivi makes a lot of mana real fast. It is an Izzet Storm deck. You can cast Dragonstorm, put 2 Niv Mizzets into play, and then just win from that. You know, the classic Niv Mizzet Curiosity effect, effectively, because the newest Niv Mizzet draws cards on non-combat damage sources. So it's got a lot of interesting combos. I find that if you kind of remove the commander early and prevent them from really popping off, they're kind of dead in the water. But, you know, it does have the ability to grind if it builds one of those card draw engines. Otherwise, it suffers the same problem as us, where the commander does not say draw a card on it, and it does suffer for that.
I think what sets apart a good VV player or bad VV player and a good VV player is when you cast VV itself, because because you have to be able to like capitalize on its ability. So like if you have if you kept a hand where it's like you have the curiosity and like maybe like a 1 or 2 spells to be able to actually start generating your engine, just being able to like power out a early VV and then slap a curiosity and go on the same turn can be a lot more powerful than just casting an early VV and then just doing nothing. And then it just dies and then you have to recast it over and over again. That makes sense.
It does.
correct play line with Vivi is to run it out as fast as possible, almost just like it is for us with Derevi. But what is the real difference here is the players that understand when to throw spells to get Vivi triggers even in a blank board. The Vivi player that runs Vivi out right away and then mental missteps the very next thing they can just to get a Vivi counter so they get more mana on their next turn. That's the one you want to be afraid of.
Yeah, I also agree with that too.
That's the turbo Vivi. That's our hardest matchup. That mid-range stasis Vivi that holds on to Vivi and doesn't play it out until they're ready to use it as a grinding engine. I'm not afraid of that one. We're faster than them. We beat them. They're just an Izzet deck that doesn't really know what it's doing. They should be playing Kirk.
I hadn't thought
Kishima.
of stasis in Vivi. That's funny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really
It
cute.
makes blue. That checks out. Yeah.
I think it's more what I was saying is like the turn you're about to storm off. There are turns where you can just wait until you just have the ability to cast Vivi and a Curiosity effect, and then just go off from there. Like you can just wait to be able to just find your window for it. But like,
I'd also
I've seen a lot of
good with turn spells. I'm sure that you've seen these in
Yeah.
Modern Envy, but things like Temporal Trespass, Time Warp, etc. Vivi gets you that mana to cast these big spells, and then you just keep going.
Yeah, for sure.
Vivi's been playing the 3-mana blue one that
Savor the Moment.
Yep.
Yeah. No untap step. Vivi don't care. Vivi just makes mana.
A bunch of It's like a better Final Fortune somewhat in that deck because it doesn't lose you the game.
Surprise.
Yeah. I mean, it's just one of those decks where it's also like really hard to mulligan with too. I think if you're like really good with mulligans, it's probably like a deck you could probably pick up.
High skill ceiling.
Yes, very very high skill ceiling.
All right. Well, our next and final card, Celeste Rune Knight. It's 1 in Mardu for a legendary creature, Human Wizard Knight. When Celeste enters, discard any number of cards and draw that many cards +1. Whenever one or more creatures you control enter, if one or more of them would enter from a graveyard, it was crashed from a graveyard. Put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. I don't know a ton about this deck, but I do believe the first ability is much more relevant than the second. But feel free to educate me.
Yeah, so it's both effects are great. So I'm the one who ended up putting this one on the list because I think this has a lot more legs than what other people say. So this deck is a breach deck mostly because you can use like your typical Mardu breach stuff with grinding station stuff like that, but you can also use it with LED and Cloud Shift too because you can use breach Cloud Shift to flicker your Celeste, discard your hand, draw that many +1, and then get your LED, and it just basically fuels your entire breach. It mills your entire deck. You can also, if you have a sack outlet and a persist creature, the second half of it basically lets you combo with that because you sack the persist creature, it comes back in with a counter because it entered from the graveyard. So you can use like Murderous Redcap to be able to kill the table with a sack outlet, which is pretty cool.
Does Fulminator Mage have persist?
It does not.
Okay. I think you could just sack it on its own. I don't know what I'm thinking. But I was like, you give everything, have it have persist and just blow up all the lands.
You can also do like very cheeky things with because it puts a counter on each creature if a card or if it was entered from the graveyard. So you can like if you persist. No, you can just make your team like very big by just sacking like you can play like Gravecrawler and stuff like that too. You could just Gravecrawler with
like Warren Soul Trader.
Warren Soul Trader or Phyrexian Altar.
Yeah.
You could just continuously cast it and just make your dude big or make your whole team big. It's just like one of those like it's a little bit less fast than like your Dahada and like Mad Farm, but it has like a bit more grind potential with its inner trigger because you can also just use Cloud Shift just to flicker it to wheel yourself.
Or literal flicker. 1 and white.
Yes, or literal flicker. Flicker also works with this pretty well too.
Yeah,
not as good as Dahada.
Mix your flickers and your cloud shifts and stuff into wheels, so you have a lot more wheels to dig with. I'm not sure. I mean, it's Mardu good stuff with a wheel in the command zone, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, it's just
turbo decks with wheels in the command zone. Seems good. I think
and it
we were
has
just
a built
talking about one.
yeah
Kefka?
yeah. It also has a built-in combo with it too, which is like any persist creature with a sack outlet, you can use like red cap. You can use or not red cap. You can use Ultra Dementia with red cap. Pretty good.
Yep,
you
mill
can mill
everyone
yourself into some people are just playing like the red cap and then Putrid Goblin. It's the other. It's like just a 2-mana creature with persist on it. It's like it's there. Like it's got. I think it has some legs. It's a cool deck.
All right. Well, that'll do it.
If I had time to play something that wasn't Derevi.
Yeah.
That'll do us for this episode. We had a long one again, but that's all right. Let us know what we missed between Tarkir and Final Fantasy. If you want to just appease me, tell me some cool Final Fantasy facts in the comments because I just love Final Fantasy. But otherwise, you can find us on any of our platforms: YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.
Later!